alongside the Zoids. The Zoids. Upgraded view from the cannon line. Armored beasts of an ancient design. Rolling slow but the thunder's loud. The sky turns black when the guns rain down. Monster machines. Upgraded steel from the cannon line. Armored beasts of an ancient design. Rolling slow but the thunder's loud. The sky turns black when the guns rain down. Monster machines. Upgraded steel from the cannon line. Armored beasts of an ancient design. Rolling slow but the thunder's loud. The sky turns black when the guns rain down. Monster machines. Steel rain, firestorm, the Bustertortoise roars. Shells of thunder breaking Gylo's shores. Heavy armor, crawling might, backbone of the Republic fights. Steel rain, firestorm, the Bustertortoise roars. Shells of thunder breaking Gylo's shores. Heavy armor, crawling might, backbone of the Republic fights. Republic fights. Sealed leggings charge through the godulous stride. The tortoise flies from the mountainside. Walls of iron fortresses fall. The Bustertortoise answers the call. From the shield leggings charge to the godulous stride. The tortoise flies from the mountainside. Walls of iron fortresses fall. The Bustertortoise answers the call. Stride. The tortoise flies from the mountainside. Walls of iron fortresses fall. The Bustertortoise answers the call. Slow but steady, unstoppable force, carving the path of Republic's course. Against sabers, red horns, iron comes rain. The tortoise speaks in tongues of flame. Monster machines. Steel rain, firestorm, the Bustertortoise roars. Shells of thunder breaking Gylo's shores. Heavy armor, crawling might, backbone of the Republic fights. Steel rain, firestorm, the Bustertortoise roars. Shells of thunder breaking Gylo's shores. Heavy armor, crawling might, backbone of the Republic fights. Inside they march, eternal and true. The Bustertortoises are coming for you. Monster machines. Inside they march, eternal and true. The Bustertortoises are coming for you. Monster machines. Central continent plains where steel beasts charge and leave bloodstains. The Helic Republic holds the line, a shining cause by fate designed. From the shadows of the dark continent, the Gylos rise, malevolent intent with saber teeth and iron fists. The black machines scream through the mists. Mogus crawl and iguans fight, but Guttos roar and join the fight. From ancient wrecks their war begins, now only steel and fire wins. Monster machines! It's the war for planet Z, where the brave will live and tyrants die. Zoid to Zoid, sky or land, Republic steel makes it stand. Cheerleaders clash, timber tigers scream, salamanders scorch the dream. Tortoise rises through smoke and flame, and iron comes fall to shame. It's the war for planet C, where the brave will live and tyrants die. Zoids to Zoids, Skyland, Republic steel makes its stand. Shielding is clashed, the tires scream. Salamanders scorch the dream. Tortoise rises through smoke and flame, and iron comes fall to shame. Mogas swarm like worms of war, but laser jaws even every score. Red horns stomp with ruthless pride, but Gojulas meet them eye to eye. Through jungles thick and burning skies, the shielders run where valor flies. Against the saber tiger lies, the claws strike true, Republic never dies. Monster machines, the Nibus bows, they fuel the dark, but freedom burns with a righteous spark. Old empires rise, but never last. Helix stands, the die is cast. Monster machines! It's the war for planet C. Let the tyrants hear our battle cry. From godlike beast to raptor speed, we fight for honor, not for greed. Sky turns red, steel gods fall with a Helic heart. Outlast them all. Raise your fist and scream with pride. The Zoids of freedom will not hide. The war for planet C. Let the tyrants hear our battle cry. Lion chains and Redhorn Rex rust in the rains. Shield leaders walk the fields they won, and Z turns slowly toward the sun. This is our world, this is our fight. Zoids of Helic burn through the night. For planet C we rise, we fall, but freedom stands above them all.
Metallic giants rise from lying grounds. Blue guardians down the heart. Lights and fury in the sky.